Hi again, and welcome back to the show. We're meeting once again with Sheldon Wolf, the president of Canada Credit Fix. He's one of Canada's top forensic credit experts. He is a specialist and an educator to Canadians on topics such as credit restoration, credit score modification, debt settlement, and identity theft protection. Sheldon brings to the table over 25 years of experience and currently sits on the board of directors for the Credit Institute of Canada. Well, great to have you again on the show, Sheldon.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We've had you on the show discussing credit repair several times, and each time your company seems to grow and grow. It seems like every time we chat, you have something new and breakthrough to show us on our show, new stuff in the industry. First of all, what makes your company and the service so unique in the Canadian marketplace? And it's my understanding that you have a three-step system that you've been working with. Can you elaborate on that and maybe give us a kind of a high level first?
Absolutely. Well, as you know, our business is booming because the data collection industry is known as the credit reporting system. Well, data happens so fast, and there's always going to be errors, and there's always going to be things that need to be fixed and adjusted and modified and improved on. So we run a three-step program which we've developed, which seems to fits the plug for Canadians who end up as our customers. One of the steps is obviously we want to fix the mistakes, help the client get any errors off their credit report, dispute anything that shouldn't be on there, any wrong information or compliance violations. So that's the main step, which is the important part, is fixing the old, but that doesn't always fix the guy's credit score, and it doesn't always improve his credit. It eliminates things that shouldn't be on there, or corrects things that should be on there. But part of what we do is the second step, which is help people rebuild their credit and reestablish their credit rating. So it's all about credit score and credit rating these days. And the third thing we do, which has become the most important thing as of late, is we want to help you protect your credit. There's no sense in fixing your credit, and there's no sense in getting your score up if you're just going to become a victim of identity theft. So while you're on our watch for a 12-month membership, we're going to babysit your credit with you and hopefully educate you, which is also part of what we like to do with clients. But it's more than just fixing a mistake on a credit. That's how some companies operate, not us. We want to turn you into a viable consumer and keep you that way.
So tell me more about your credit lab and what types of people you hire to work for your clients.
Well, we all know about my credit experience. Obviously, I've been doing this for over 2 decades, but I like to hire people that are knowledgeable and talented just like myself. So I hire the finest. So I go to get people that maybe worked at Equifax in the past, get Equifax employees that have the skill sets and knowledge and understand the workings of the credit reporting system and how they work. At the same time, I hire people who maybe have a past as collection agents, who understand the Collection Agencies Act, who understand what should be on your credit, what shouldn't be, and the rules of how they operate. I hire professional debt settlers and arbitrators, people who understand how to communicate with the creditors. And that's the kind of people I hire. People who've been in the banking industry for 15, 20 years. People who understand how to get you approved for financing once you are cleaned up. Those are the experts I have in my credit lab.
Why did you choose to be a members-only company? Do you find that it improves this kind of the clientele, or what's your reasoning there?
Well, absolutely. We want people who are interested in being fiscally responsible and viable consumers. So, we have people contact us all the time and say, hey, I just want this removed from my credit. And we want to legitimize our customer. We want people who wake up in the morning who had good credit and then there's mistakes and errors or compliance violations. We want people who have serious claims and serious issues rather than any frivolous files where people just simply don't want the bad credit they created. Now, that said, we do have programs in debt settlement. So, the guy who was young and dumb, so to speak, and now has a family and wants to buy a home, and he's changed his ways, wants to work at improving his credit, well, we can help settle those debts and do that as well.
And in talking to several people, they say that there's a waiting list to become a member of Canada Credit Fix. So if someone has an emergency, will you still accept them as a client?
Well, we're booked solid usually about 3 months in advance, and then there's parts of the year where we don't take on new members. Now, that said, there are cases where people are in a unique situation. We will issue new members if it's an emergency or if it's an exceptionary basis, where someone is on a strict timeline and they have to get that mortgage approved, or they have to. So we'll handle those usually on a one-by-one basis if we think it's something that we can help a client. We're not in the business of turning away customers, but at the same time, we want to make sure that our existing customers get great service, and we do our best to help as many people as we can.
And why do you keep the membership active for 12 months? Is that how long it takes to repair someone's credit?
It actually doesn't take that long to repair someone's credit. It could in some cases, but for the most part, you'll notice a significant difference on your credit anywhere from 30 to 90 days, maybe 120 days. But why we do that is the old American model that marched into Canada, where they'd take your money and didn't work, tough luck, goodbye. And our model's not about that. Our model's about, if it takes us 12 months to fix something, well, so be it. And if it's something that comes off your credit, I want to make sure it stays off your credit. I want to make sure that it's reporting properly. And like I said, just because we removed an error on your credit doesn't mean your score is just going to skyrocket. In fact, sometimes it doesn't at all. So it's not always, that's the reason for our 3-step program, because it's not always about fixing your credit. Sometimes it's more about building new responsible credit. A lot of our customers come to us because they want to get a mortgage. We get a lot of business referred from the mortgage industry. So just removing a mistake isn't necessarily going to get you the mortgage. We want to help engineer your score and engineer your credit so a bank says, yeah, this is the kind of client we want.
So let's just say that I'm trying to get a mortgage and my credit is a mess. I was talking with someone that was basically at one of your seminars, one of the seminars that you put on, the educational seminars. You say that in those seminars that Canadians do things backwards. What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, here's what Canadians do, and I always find it kind of funny because I've also got an extensive background in real estate and mortgaging as well. But Canadians do it backwards. They go find the house, they get themselves all excited, they find that dream kitchen and that super garage, and then they try and get their financing. And then they try and get their financing and they end up declined because they didn't deal with their credit. The credit is probably the most important thing. The credit's the launch pad. You get your credit in order because that's going to determine the rates you get or if you even get approved. So I always tell people, let's talk about credit first, and then let's figure out the mortgage, the best mortgage solution, and then let's apply that into the property you're going to look at.
And what would you say is the most common consumer problem that you deal with on a daily basis?
Oh, I would say, and I'm not picking on any industry, but I'd say telecommunication companies, and I'm not going to name any, they know who they are. But sometimes they'll sell their debt to third-party collection agencies, and sometimes the third-party collection agency, rather than do the proper due diligence and try and track down the customer and demand payment, they'll just smack it on someone's credit, which is all fine and dandy except for the fact that they hit a lot of wrong targets. So poor Joe Smith, who's never even had a phone company or a phone with this company, now has a collection for $2,000 on his credit. Meanwhile, he's always had great credit until that mistake. So that I see every day. Not a day goes by where I do not take on a file like that. And it's frustrating for the client and it's frustrating for us.
Well, Sheldon, are telecom companies the worst at this?
I'd say they're definitely heading up at the top 10, at the top part of the top 10. There's other companies, and I don't like naming names. I mean, we do our best to work with them, and they're cooperative for us. We've got a lot of really good contacts, and that makes a big difference, and it speeds up the process. I feel bad for the public who don't have the contacts that we do, who end up on the phone, on some VoIP call from India with someone that doesn't care about their credit.
Well, yeah, there's always that problem. So, before our interview today, you were speaking of the Bermuda Triangle that Canadian consumers face trying to do their own credit repair. A very interesting analogy. What do you mean by that?
Well, the Bermuda Triangle for us is this. It's a term that I coined in our credit lab, because here's what the Canadian consumer typically does. First of all, they find out there's a mistake, and usually they find out there's a mistake because they applied for something and just got turned down, and a lot of times that's their mortgage and all that. And first step they do, which is wrong, is they contact Equifax or they contact TransUnion, and everybody wants to shoot the messenger. And unfortunately, it's rarely Equifax and it's rarely TransUnion. So they yell at them, and then they hang up, and then they're told to contact the let's just say the telecom company, and by that I mean cellular company. Cellular company no longer owns their file because they've sold the debt, and tells them to call some collection agent, and half the times they don't have the info, and they have to track down and find out who the collection agent is. They phone the collection agent, and the collection agent only finds out that it's the wrong person and wants to cover their butt, so they no longer have it and say, well, you need to deal with the telecom company. The telecom company now realizes they're embedded in a mistake and says, you need to contact Equifax, you need to contact TransUnion. And then next thing you know, you're back on the phone with some 13-year-old in India on a VoIP call who really doesn't care about your your problem. They just want to get on to the next service call.
Now I get it. Now it's basically the ping pong, back and forth and back and forth.
Nobody wants to take responsibility for the mistake they made, so everybody passes the buck on to the next person.
Well, okay, so CreditFix has many thousands of members, and it's growing each time we chat. What do all these customers, where do they come from, and how do they find you? What channels do they go about to get to you?
We get a lot of our business referred, and we get files from the police when people have been victimized by identity theft. We get files from insurance companies. Let's say they're responsible to deal with the cost of the credit repair, credit restoration. We get tons and tons and tons and tons of files from mortgage brokers, and the mortgage broker that cares about their client and actually cares about getting the deal done will usually refer them off to us rather than just decline them and kick them to the curb, so to speak. A lot of dealerships send us. We get files from almost every single national bank in Canada, and they come from everywhere, and the problems are all over the map with why they come here. But never a day, and never do we not learn something new. So.
Well, given that people have to find a good solution, what should a Canadian consumer look for when hiring a credit repair agency?
Well, first of all, you want to make sure that they're licensed, and number two, and more important than that, I'm going to say make sure they are Canadian. There are a lot of companies that come in from the States and they pretend they're Canadian. They'll put a Canadian flag on the website. They'll name themselves something Canadian, and they're anything but Canadian. They're run out of Florida. They're run out of, if you're dealing with a company, you should be able to read good testimonials. You should have a good feeling. If you don't get a good feeling of this company, there's probably a good reason. If you're on the phone with them and they can't articulate on credit repair and they don't sound like they know what they're talking about, there's a very good chance that they're just a call center, and there's a lot of scams out there. Be very careful. Great
advice, actually, as usual. Well, thanks always for doing an interview with us. It's always great to hear from you and the improvements you've made to Canadians and their credit solutions. You're a true pioneer, and we hope to hear from you again real soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, if you're looking for more information on Canada Credit Fix and their credit slab credit improvement system, please go to canadacreditfix.com. You can also call them at 1-866-530-3646. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you again real soon.